prayers and thoughts as well. And then I want everybody to repeat after me tonight. Say, Slava Bogo. Slava Bogo. That, you just spoke Russian. And since Pastor and Debbie are going to the Ukraine, that they say that all the time in the Ukraine. Slava Bogo, which means praise the Lord. So you know how to speak Russian now. All right? So tonight, as I should greet you, I should say, Здравствуйте, добрый вечер, мой брат, my sister. Как дела? Хорошо? Yeah, how was that one? That was pretty good, wasn't it? What I said was, good evening, my brothers and my sisters. How are you, okay? So keep Pastor and Debbie in your prayers as well as they travel. The Ukraine is a special place in all of our hearts here at this church, and we love those folks over there, love the pastors, love the people. It's an amazing place to go and be a part of. Even if you don't go, you're helping them by being here and doing the things that you do and praying for them. Before I even get started, I want to do, is it okay if I just do a shameless plug? Just let me do a shameless plug. I want to get it out of the way, all right? Some of you know from Facebook and different things, I've been on WFRN now for about 3 weeks. No, you're not quite, somewhere close to that though. Every day at 7:20, so I'll miss it tonight. I won't get to hear myself. Doggone it. 7:20 p.m. and 10 p.m. I do a 90-second spot on there. Each day, Monday through Friday, so not every day, I guess, Monday through Friday, the work week. Okay, and that's called the Life Quest Moment, and we focus on some different things there. But encourage you, if you can, sometime pick that up on WFRN. Again, it plays at 7:20 and 10 o'clock, and if you miss it, you can go to my website. You can listen there. I've archived them there as well. But they're just real short things just to kind of encourage you and give you some good insight and tips on different things. And then also Stacy Page Online, the newspaper, the online newspaper here in town. Every Monday I do an article for her called Passion, Purpose, and Profit. That's related to career, business, things along those lines. So if you can get a chance to look at those after Monday it comes out, there's four or five articles I think now. Just started that in the last month. So there's my shameless plug, okay? We're done. So now we'll get to the message this evening. I want to start off with asking you a few questions because I need your response here. I really do. These are not rhetorical questions, which means you actually have to answer me in some way, shape, or form with a yes or a wave of the hand, like yes, that's me, something along those lines. Do you believe that each of us has been given unique gifts by God? How many believe that? Raise your hand. Okay. So that's 100% of you pretty much, all right? The others of you will wake up. All right, wake up. All right. I promise I will not put you to sleep tonight. Brian said I had the next 2 hours, take as much time as I wanted. So, oh, no, not that. No, I promise it will not be like that, only an hour and a half. So that's the first question. The second one, before you answer, let me kind of set it up, but I'll ask it, set it up, and ask it again. Do you believe we should use those gifts to do something, to produce and achieve something for God? Now, here's the things I'm talking about. Everything from winning souls, certainly we could probably agree on that, provide for our family, just doing and achieving anything in life. So the question is, do you feel that we should use those gifts that God has given us to produce and achieve things? Raise your hands. Okay, so that's, again, 100% of you. For those of you who didn't, wake up again, all right? So the last question is now, do you believe that you should use those gifts, and as you use those gifts, your gifts should be for His glory? Do you believe your gifts should be for His glory? Bring Him honor, bring Him glory, absolutely, right? All right. Now, I want you to keep in mind as we go through this tonight, because I like to build as we go. That's just always the way I teach. I just build as we go. But keep in mind, the last worship song we sang, I'm going to worship you forever, I never have any clue. Guest ministers never have any clue what's singing and who's doing what, okay? But keep in mind that we sang that song last, because we're going to hit on something that will just kind of like blow your mind tonight, all right? Because of that song and where we're going with this. The title of the message tonight is Your Gifts for His Glory. Your Gifts for His Glory. You've all agreed with me that we're supposed to accomplish and produce some things, right? I'm going to ask one more time. We're supposed to use these gifts and accomplish and produce, right? Great. Okay. Again, hardly any of you raised your hand that time. Okay. That's all right. I know you're with me. I know you're with me. It's a long day. I want to read a definition to you, and then I'll give you the word. I'm not going to give you the word first. I'm going to give you the definition first, Then I'm going to give you the word, okay? Here we go. You're going to say, he set me up, didn't he? Physical or mental effort or activity directed toward the production or accomplishment of something. It's a definition. So we've kind of already agreed that God's given us gifts, and we're supposed to produce or achieve something with those gifts, and we should use our gifts for his glory. We've all agreed to that. Now, I just gave you a definition that had the word produce and achieve. Now, the word for that meaning, that definition I just gave you, is this. It's called work. Work means physical or mental effort or activity directed toward the production of accomplishment of something. We're going to go through some things about work tonight. Things I'll almost guarantee most of it you've never heard before. Because there's some really good scriptures we've all heard, and I may allude to one or two. Just as I'm speaking, I got a couple we'll throw up tonight that most of you probably have never read. Most of what we'll cover tonight you probably never heard, but some things you may have heard like this. This is the standard work scripture about doing things. When I say work, now follow me here. When I say work, I don't mean just what you do to get paid. I also mean serving in the church. I mean volunteering. Maybe it's an organization in the community. Whatever you do, whatever you physically or mentally do to produce or achieve is work, right? So I'm not talking about just what you do to get paid, but it's volunteering. It's everything that includes those things. But here's the thing. What I'm going to share to you tonight is more than whatever we do unto the Lord. 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 31. A lot of people have heard that one. A lot has been taught on that. Whatever you do it unto the Lord. And certainly I'm not going to argue with Scripture. I'm the last one to do that. But sometimes when I hear that, it's almost put out there as a God just waiting for you to do something wrong kind of thing. Remember, whatever you do it unto the Lord, because if you mess up, he's going to nail you. That's not what it's talking about. That's not who God is anyway. That's not in his character. But there's scriptures like that we've all heard about work. But what I want to share with you tonight is some different avenues for work. Like I said, and some and most you probably never heard. And if you had, we'll go a little deeper than maybe what you've heard. All right? Now, work sounds like it's something unspiritual. If I say that word, you just think, there's nothing very spiritual about work. I just do it. I get paid, I go to work, I come home, I pay my bills, whatever. Church is spiritual. Praying is spiritual. Worshiping God is spiritual. Well, think about this for a second. Half of your waking hours, at least, involve work. Now, that's even more than paid work. You understand what I said? That's why I said, don't just think what you do for your J-O-B. By the way, you know what J-O-B stands for, don't you? Just over broke. Okay? Whole nother subject there. All right. It's more than just your J-O-B. It's more than just your job that you go to. I'm talking about mowing your grass, doing your dishes, serving at church, doing your job at what you get paid for. It's all those things. Over half of your life, your waking hours, are dedicated to doing some form of work. Why would God do that to you and set you up that over half of your waking hours are for work and it not be spiritual? Like he's going, well, I only really want about a third to maybe 50% of your life. The other is just totally disconnected. It's just work. It has no bearing on spiritual matters. That's the furthest thing from the truth. Watch what happens tonight. Work is one of the most spiritual things you can do. Some of you are going, I'm waiting for that one. Okay, we'll get there. Don't worry. We're the ones who make work unspiritual. We're the ones who disconnect. I'm just going to work. It's just work. It's not like going to church where I get to praise God and clap my hands and pray and hear a good message. Love you too, kiddo. My daughter's over here mouthing to me. She loves me. It's awful sweet. All right? So we're the ones, though, that make it. We separate it out. We compartmentalize it. We go, it's just work. God has very little to do with that. Other than when I really need a J-O-B, I'm going to pray to God to get me one. But after that, he pretty much doesn't care. I just go do my thing. But what he really cares about is me praying, which we should do. That's not what I'm saying. Going to church, which we should do. I'm not saying not to do that. And worshiping God, we should do that. And I'm not saying we shouldn't. Just watch where we go with work tonight. All right? I hope some of this is going to be enlighten you to the point that you're going to completely change the way you look at work. Remember, not just J-O-B, but everything you physically or mentally do to produce or achieve. Though work has 4 letters in it, it is not a 4-letter word. Okay? I know some of you want to say a few 4-letter words when you start thinking about work, but it is not a 4-letter word, though it has 4 letters in it. It's not evil. Do you look at work as that 5 days you have to endure before the 2 days you get to enjoy? Why would God do that? He doesn't do that. We're going to find out tonight. That's not his plan. That's not his system. Is work a necessary evil? Is it a curse? I mean, after all, Adam was in the garden and everything was great in the garden. He didn't have to do anything until after the fall, and then God said, buddy, you're going to have to keep this up. It's not a curse. It's not a curse. Not a curse at all. As a matter of fact, turn to Ecclesiastes chapter 3. Ecclesiastes chapter 3. And as you turn there, I'll make another point. Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verses 12 and 13 is where we're going. How could work be a curse in any way, shape, or form if God himself worked for 6 days and then rested on the 7th day? There could be nothing negative around work if God himself does and did work, in that case for 6 days, and then on the 7th day he rested. How could that be wrong? It's not wrong. As a matter of fact, God calls work a gift. Probably helps if I get to Ecclesiastes, doesn't it? Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verses 12 and 13. I know that nothing is better for them than to rejoice and to do good in their lives, and also that every man should eat and drink and enjoy the good of his labor, his work. It is the gift of God. Not only are we supposed to enjoy what our work, and this now will be very specific, in our J-O-B work, we're not only supposed to enjoy the things that provides by things that we buy, everything from shelter to food to toy, whatever it is, toys, you name it, I don't care. We're not only supposed to enjoy that, we're supposed to actually enjoy the process and what we do as work. Now I know that one right there just blows so many people out of the water. Yeah, because then you go back to do everything as unto the Lord, so I just have to muddle through this. No, you're supposed to enjoy what you do. You're supposed to enjoy the process and what you do mentally and physically to produce and achieve. Again, we'll see more and more as we kind of peel the onion layer by layer. I see too many people. I do workshops on career and business and things along those lines, entrepreneurship, and I do coaching with people individually and in groups. And I'm telling you, I see about 70%, the statistics prove it out, 70% of the people are unhappy doing what they do. 70% of people want to be doing something other than what they're doing for work. There's a whole lot of reasons for that. And we'll touch a little bit on those tonight. I don't necessarily want to go there. But generally, it's simply because they're not doing what they've been put here to do. They're swimming in the wrong pond. They're swimming upstream and not downstream. Like I said, we'll touch on that, but that's why most people are frustrated. It's simply because they're doing the wrong stuff. Because as you said in the beginning, you told me, by raising your hand, you believe God gives us all unique gifts. Well, if he gives us all unique gifts, why would we go contrary to the gifts he's given us? Sounds like swimming upstream to me. Okay? But let's, again, layer by layer, onion, peeling it off here a little bit. I know that concept is hard to think about. Enjoy what I do. But we got to transform our thinking here. Got to renew our minds. We're supposed to actually enjoy this. Now, God has given us gifts. We've said that. God created us in his image. Now, again, that's a whole sermon. I mean, that could be a multitude of sermons. That's a series of sermons. But for tonight, what I'm talking about, God created us in his image, as the Trinity is, the Godhead Trinity. There's Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. There are three that make up the Godhead. He made us three. He made us spirit. That's who we are, our spirit right here, our spirit man. We possess a soul, which is our mind, will, and our emotions, and we live in this fleshly body. We are also a three-part being, as the Trinity is three. All right? As we progress to this, you'll see why that becomes important to realize that. But as we go, he's given each of us unique giftings in each one of these areas. Think about that. He doesn't just give you, the one everybody goes to is, well, what can you do? What's your talent? Well, that's certainly one of them, but let's break this down. He gives us gifts. He's given us a gift or gifts in our spirit. Now, I'm not talking about spiritual gifts. Understand, I'm going to be just very clear. I know it sounds a little strange. I said he's given us gifts in our spirit, but I'm not talking about the spiritual gifts of discernment and faith, working of miracles. I'm not talking about those. In your spirit, what God's placed in you has been the desires, the passions, and the dreams that he wanted for you. As a matter of fact, Psalms, I think 37 says, he gives you the desires of your heart. He gives you the desires in your spirit, man, that he wants. Another word for desires is passion. Every one of you has passion for something. It's supposed to be what wakes you up in the morning. It's your overall arching life's mission. It's your calling. Since we're in church, I'll call it that. It's your calling. What are you supposed to be doing? Your calling could encompass a lot of different things. You can be doing a lot of different things under your calling. Literally hundreds of things. And I'm seeing Diana over here. It's obvious as a nurse, that's what she does. There's a bigger calling than a nurse. That's the job that she's doing that falls under that calling. It's taking care of people. It's nurturing people. It's helping people. That's kind of the calling. It just happens to be that nurse fits that calling for her. But there are other things she could do that fall under that same thing. But God's given us in here those desires, those passions. So in our spirit, he's given us gifts. For every one of you, it's probably something different. Some of you, it's working with teens in any way, shape, or form. Some of you, it's technology stuff. That's your passion. You go, well, now you're really getting off. There's nothing spiritual about this. Just hang with me. God wouldn't give it to you unless it was a spiritual thing. Because there's a reason he gives it to you. Remember, your gifts for his glory, that's the purpose. We're all here for purpose. And I think we forget that. We go about our daily job, the daily job, and most of you young people will have no clue what this is. Some of the older folks will get this. Our purpose is more than time to make the donuts. Dunkin' Donuts commercials from just a few years back. Yeah, you know what? Well, you're old, Brian. You're 30 now. Come on. Oh, that was bad. No, but it's that same mentality of that's all I'm doing. I'm just going to make the donuts instead of I have a passion for making the best donut the world has ever seen. Why? Because I bring joy to people's faces. There's nothing like seeing a little kid bite into one of my donuts and the smile that comes on their face. You say, there's no spiritual purpose in that. You just wait. I'll prove it to you. Not about donuts, but I'll prove it to you. So he's given that in our spirits. And then in our souls, here, that's where our personality is. And we've all been given a unique personality. And some of us more than others, right, Jim? Yes, Jim. Some of us have a very unique personality. I've known Jim a long time. I can get away with that. No, but God's given us that personality. Why? He gave us a unique one so we could interact with people, because that's what a personality is for. It's not for just you. If it was just you in this world, you wouldn't need one. You could be cardboard. Who cares? But he's given you a unique personality so that you could interact with people and help produce and achieve what he's called you to do. Because I'm not sent to everybody, because not everybody can receive from me. Some of you are struggling tonight to receive from me because my personality. Maybe, I hope not. I hope not. I know some people have in the past, Brian. I've been told they have, so maybe there's one or two. But you know, we do receive from different people, right? It's usually because of personality. Because the same person, Brian can say the same exact thing I say, but he says it in a different way, with a different personality than I do, and you might receive it from him and never get close to a clue of what I said. But it's because of the personality. God gave that to you for a reason. So for the first one, he gave you dreams and desires and passions that burn in here. Then he gave you a unique personality. I think we're working on another 3 here. And the last one is the most obvious one that everybody thinks of first. Well, what did God give me the talent to do, physically or mentally? What can I do with my hands or my mind? What can I put together? What can I destruct? What can I construct? What can I think of? That's the one that most people think of first. But that's our body. That's the physical body, basically. So he's done 3 things. He's given us something spiritual, in our spirit rather. He's given us something for our soul, our personality, and he's given us something that our body does, our talents. Again, another 3. That's kind of neat how God works in 3s. I love it. Threefold cord's not easily broken. We must blend those 3 things. You blend those desires and the passions that God gave you, along with the personality that God uniquely has given you, and those awesome talents and abilities that God placed within you. When you blend those, that's when you really start to achieve and produce like never before. Most people, I wrote an article about this. I'll just make a quick point. I wrote an article about this called the 3-legged stool. That's what those 3 things are. They're the 3-legged stool. Your passions, your personality, and your talents make up a 3-legged stool. Most people operate on one. What can I do? They leave out figuring out, well, what kind of personality do I have and what are my passions? They just do what they know to do because they've been taught to do that and it's easy for them to do. And I will say this, just because you can do something, Scott, doesn't mean you should be doing it. Because you can do lots of things. Most of you in here could do hundreds of things. You thought, oh, no, I can't. Yes, you can. You could do hundreds of things if you showed how. But just because you know how doesn't mean you should. But when you blend all 3, like the threefold cord or the 3-legged stool, when you blend all 3, that's where you become into that vein that you're tapping into God like he meant for you to do. Otherwise, you're just getting into part of it. Even if you're doing physically the things that he's gifted you with, if you leave out the other 2, you're leaving out part of God. Because he gave you those gifts to produce, to achieve, in other words, work. We're swimming upstream if we're going against those things. We really are. I said it before, I'll say it again. We're swimming upstream if we're just going along with just maybe what we can do, but we're not focusing on all 3 of those things. We're swimming upstream, and we're wondering why we're restless, we're frustrated, maybe bitter, maybe angry, not achieving the success you wanted to achieve. That's a pretty good reason as to why. Now, in the world and work, in the JOB part, this will make it just clear what I'm talking about. You have been uniquely gifted by God. Remember, your gifts for his glory. You've been uniquely gifted by God to do certain things. Some people, even sitting here tonight, you should be a salesman, not a mechanic. Lee is a mechanic. He knows a car backwards and forwards and vehicles backwards and forwards. Now, part of his job is owning his own shop as part of that as a salesman, but I'm just trying to draw a distinction. Some people are supposed to be a salesman, not a mechanic, because that's their giftings. If you try to swap them, everybody's going to be frustrated. Now, could Lee show me how to do something? And he has a couple times, how to fix something in my car. Like, well, just do this, do that. I could do that. I could change my spark plugs, Lee, can't I, right? I can change my own spark plugs. I can do that. But if once you get past that point, I go to Lee. That's not my gift. Although I did rewire something, and it's still working, by the way. But I'm not going to do that on a long-term basis. I'm going to just go, Lee, fix it. That's his gift. I'll go do my gift while he does his. See, we're all uniquely gifted. Now, in the church, it looks like this. You're going into the children's ministry trying to teach a class when you should have no business teaching anything. You should be in the logistics and the administrative end. You should be the one making sure everybody's on time, scheduling, doing the paperwork, because getting up in front of the class scares the living daylights out of you, and you have no idea how to put prepare a plan and a message together. Now, I know that doesn't happen here. I'm just saying in church in general. Or it's the other way around. You're going, well, I'll do this because I know how. I can write up a schedule. I can make sure everybody's scheduled and who's supposed to be where when. But your real gifting is to be in front of the students because you have so much enthusiasm. The kids are going to love you and think you're the best thing since sliced bread. It's amazing when you walk in your giftings what happens. One of my main overarching giftings is to teach. What I'm doing tonight. Teaching and encouraging. That's what I do. I have sub-taught a lot this year at the school, in the school system. I've got kids from first grade, and the high schoolers don't do it, but first grade, I've done first grade through 12th grade. Wow, what a big, wow, try that one on for size. One day you're at the high school, the next day you got a little bit of first graders, 20 of them running around your legs, and you're going, this is like herding cats! Stop, everybody, I have a plan and you're not following it. The very first time I did that, I was like, I came home and my wife goes, how was your day? And I said, wow. She goes, they scare you? And I said, yes. But I got a hang of it after that. I had 3 kids, so I understand how that works. But it's just like 20 of them at one time. Anyway. But because I walk in my giftings with them, I get kids running up giving me hugs when I'm walking down the hallway, and I'm not even in their class. They may have had me one time, but they say, Mr. Roulo, and they come running over and give you a hug. I mean, that's awesome. But why? Because I walk in my gifting to teach and encourage. God's uniquely gifted every one of us. Your gifts for His glory. Turn to Exodus chapter 31. As you turn there, Exodus chapter 31, I would rather be flowing in my gifts than trying to swim upstream even though I thought it was something I wanted to do. I would rather just simply do this. God, you created me, spirit, soul, and body. You help me become fully aware of what you want me to do and where you want me to go. Because I would rather be doing that than trying to go, well, let me try this over here. And I'm not against trying things. Don't misunderstand. As long as it's kind of in your general gifting, okay? Because I don't want to be swimming upstream all day long. That just doesn't seem like fun. Here's what I want to be doing. Jamie will remember this. I want to be Finding Nemo. I want to be the turtles in the EAC, the East Australian Current. Instead of swimming outside that thing and swimming against the current, I want to be the turtles going, first you went, whoa, then you went, whoa, and then you went, whoa. Because you're in the current. You're going with the flow. God has an East Australian current for you. How about jumping in on that bad boy and let's ride that thing? Whoa. Whoa. Jamie's over here. Yeah, man. I've done enough. Listen, I've tried so many things. And I've done a lot of things in my almost 50 years, almost. Not quite. I got a little ways to go yet. But I've done and tried a lot of different things, but I know where my giftings are. And you know what? There's nothing, let me just stop here. There's nothing wrong with not knowing at the age of 50 what exactly your giftings are, because a lot of this doesn't get talked about. Nobody says, hey, you're supposed to find out and get there. They just say, somebody looks at, in church, just go, oh, able-bodied, do this. Yeah, and that's okay for a while. That really is okay. There's nothing wrong with that, but then we get stuck. We get stuck in church and we get stuck in our job because you go, I've been doing this for 20 years. I don't know anything else. But you're not called to do it. That's why you're miserable. I think, personally, this is just me, after meeting with clients and meeting with people in workshops, I think one of the reasons Christians are not full of joy is because they're not walking in their calling. They're doing things that are outside their calling, so they're frustrated. Really, this is all there is to life? Hammer and nail every day, that's what I do? Well, for a while, hey, look, you got to put bread on the table? I got no problem. I'll hammer nails all day. I'll flip burgers. It doesn't matter. I can flip a mean burger, by the way. Okay? It doesn't matter. That's not my point. But you shouldn't be doing that for 20 years. That should be an in-between until you get where you need to go. So back to my point was, there's nothing wrong with being 50 and not knowing, because nobody's ever talked to you about it. Some of you are a little younger. You're in your 20s. You're getting it tonight, and I'm telling you, get to where you need to be going. You'll be much more happier, and so will the people around you. It's amazing what it does. Your gifts for His glory. Exodus chapter 31. Just a couple scriptures here I want to read to you. I probably ought to get there, shouldn't I? Yeah, there, he's got it up there for me. I'll just read it off there. It's easier that way. Otherwise, I've got to go find it. I gave it to him beforehand. Exodus chapter 31, verses 2 through 4. See, I've called you by name, Bezalel, the son of Uri, the son of Hur, and of the tribe of Judah. And I have filled him with the Spirit of God in wisdom, in understanding, in knowledge, and in all manner of workmanship, to design artistic works, to work in gold, in silver, in bronze. God gifted this man to do this work. That was his calling. Now that was a project he was working on, but he did that outside of that, to design artistic works, to work in gold, silver, and bronze. Now, if he was the one tracking the paperwork for this to make sure everybody was doing what they were supposed to be doing, I'm sure it wouldn't have been done right, because he was outside of his calling. And they would have had to fill it with somebody who was not up to par in that area. But their calling was doing the paperwork and making sure everybody was where they were supposed to be. You get the point? God says, I've equipped you to do some things. And we're just like him. Specific things we are supposed to be doing. Your work. Whether it's your JOB, whether it's volunteering in the church, whether it's volunteering in another organizations, whatever it is, get in that East Australian current, get in the flow with God, and let's move along there. Now, in church, we call work serving. And I like that. And here's the reason why. Because I think if we would change our mindset sometimes to say work and make it serving, it takes that negative connotation of it's a curse, it's under the curse, Adam fell and it's a curse, we shouldn't have to work. If it wasn't for Adam, we wouldn't have to work if it wasn't for Adam. No, I'm sure that was never in God's plan. Because I don't know about you, but to win souls, it takes work. I have to give it some thought, and I have to go produce and achieve something with that. It still takes work. Okay? So work was always designed to be part of the picture. From Genesis 1 to the end of Revelation, work was always part of the picture. So, but if we would change our mindset maybe to serving, it might change that a little bit. See, like in our business with Peg, when she has the cake lady, we made it a point from the very beginning like on the bottom of her invoices and everything, it's a pleasure to serve you. Her message when you call her, I look forward to serving you. Serving is the operative word. Not work, I'm serving you. If we could all change that, I'm serving. And I'm going to give you a story here that I think will bring that to light real well in just a minute. But if we change everything to serving, I think we'll be good. Now, God says he wanted to give us the gifts to produce and achieve great things. Now, I'm adding the words great, the word great, because I don't believe God does anything less than great. He made you, didn't he? And you certainly aren't less than great. You're fearfully and wonderfully created. You're the apple of his eye. You were blessed going in, blessed coming out. You're above and not beneath. You're the head and not the tail. God doesn't do things average. So what he gave you, those gifts he gave you, spirit, soul, and body, he gave you to do great things. But Don, I work at Taco Bell. How great is that? Well, if it's an in-between and that's not what you want to do, that's fine. But what if your gifting is to manage people? You can manage at Taco Bell. You can manage in a plant. You can manage at a hotel. Managing people is a gift. It's managing people. So there's nothing wrong with doing Taco Bell, even for a long time, if it's in your calling. But I bring up Taco Bell because of the story I want to tell you. Remember I said about serving? This is all about serving. If we would change our mindset, it would change our life in this way. I have a friend, and actually, I always say the story as a friend, but most of you have met him at least once, so about a year and a little over a year ago, when Dan Miller was here. Dan and Joanne were here. Dan's a friend of ours, okay? We communicate by email, sometimes by phone, some near Christmas when we were on vacation. We were down in Tennessee. We stopped by to say hi, all that stuff. So Dan's a friend, and this is part of his story. But I put it in because it fits. Every Wednesday, Dan has a standing date with his granddaughter, Clara. Clara's about 5 or 6. I think she's about close to 6 now. Close. Not quite. They have a standing lunch date at Taco Bell. Because mommy comes to their place and they have a barn that's been redone and it's really cool. It's called the Sanctuary. They hold meetings there and everything. But her mommy comes with her, and her mommy takes an art class. Somebody does an art class there during the week. And so that's Dan's opportunity to go have lunch with Clara. They go to Taco Bell. Now the person who's making the tacos or taking the order, serving in some capacity, working at Taco Bell in some capacity, could just think, man, this stinks. This hoovers. You know what Hoovers is, right? Got to explain what Hoovers means? We're in church, so I can't say sucks, so I have to say Hoover. Okay? Hoover means suck, okay? This Hoovers. Okay? This job Hoovers. That's a Mike Warnke thing, all right? Stole it from Mike. All right? But anyway, this person could think, this is just terrible. I'm taking somebody's order at Taco Bell. I'm putting together these stinking tacos. I don't care about this. Well, okay, again, if it's a step to where you want to go, let's have a good attitude about it. All right? Remember, we do everything as unto the Lord. Okay? Not that he's going to come down and swat you, but it's like, hey, remember who you're working for. But my point here is, she doesn't realize, now you will realize, that Dan and Clara go there every Wednesday to have their date. The stories that will be told from generation to generation about how Papa and Clara went to Taco Bell every Wednesday. And all the things that happened, because they do this all the time. This has been 2 or 3 years now they've been doing this. Probably a couple years. The stories that she'll be able to pass on from generation to generation. How Papa and I went to Taco Bell. If the person behind the counter knew that they were serving somebody, not just working in a negative connotation, but serving someone where their lives are being changed in that experience, how would it change them? Because there's this grandpa and his granddaughter creating lifelong memories and things for generations to come. Who knows what's going to happen? That will change things. If you allow that mentality to seek in, serving. Change our perspective, really what it is. Dr. Martin Luther King said this. I want to read this quote. No work is insignificant. All labor that uplifts humanity has dignity and importance and shall be undertaken with painstaking excellence. I love that. He has another quote, and I don't know if I'm quite quoting it quite right, but it's pretty close. Okay, the gist is there. If you're going to be a street sweeper, be the best street sweeper there is. Why? Because God created gifts in you. You should do it in excellence. Because God doesn't make junk, and the gifts he gives us are not junk. Now, the last thing. Remember I told you, hey, I'm doing pretty good. I'm going to come right out on time. Another hour, we're done. No, I'm just teasing. Remember I said remember the song, I'm going to worship you forever? This is where your mind gets blown. I hope this has all been good so far to you, peeling that onion back, but watch this one. There's a Hebrew word called avodah, A-V-O-D-A-H, avodah. That Hebrew word means work, everything we've been talking about. Remember, I didn't say it was just paid job. I mean, it's volunteer. It's everything. Anything that produces and achieves by mental or physical effort. Avodah. Ready to have your mind blown? It's the same word, avodah, for worship. It's the same word. Work and worship are the same word. Wow. So what does that mean, Don? Well, I'm so glad you asked. Is there a connection between our work and our worship? Absolutely. And I'm going to point it out to you, and I'm going to show you how this works. Think about that. Let it sink in just for a second, though. Work and worship are exactly the same thing. When we worship God, even Scripture says, we worship him in spirit and in truth. I think I do no disservice here because we're a three-part being. Just follow me. We're a three-part being. So to worship him, we should worship him with all three parts of our being. Right? So the Scripture does not say, and I double-checked to find one, and if you find one, that's great. Tell me. I'd love to have it, but I couldn't find one. And I didn't spend hours. I spent minutes, 15 minutes, whatever, that said, I was looking for one that said to worship God, spirit, soul, and body. It says, love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, and your strength, which means your spirit, soul, and body. When you look that up, that's what that means. But I couldn't find one that said to worship God. It says worship him in spirit and in truth. Okay, but since I'm a three-part being, 1 + 1 = 2 for me, I need to worship him, spirit, soul, and body. So watch this. Remember what I said when God gave us gifts? He gave us the passion, the desires in our spirit, and he gave us that great, wonderful, unique personality, Jim, in our soul realm. And he gave us those tangible talents that we can do with our hands or our thinking to create something. There's your three-part being. He gave us gifts in all three parts. We worship him back with all three parts. See, we're looking to find a bigger, better, stronger, faster way to worship God. I got to pray more to worship him better. I got to sing in the Spirit longer and to worship him. And I got to be at church more often. All those are fine. I'm not talking about that. Over 50% of your waking hours, you're doing work. The same word for work is worship. When you do those with knowing this, you are now worshiping back to God with all three parts of your being, because you're going to pursue those passions and those desires that God implanted in you and not forsake them and go, I decide to go my own way, God. No matter what you put in me, I'll go do my own thing. How you worship him in spirit is by pursuing what he planted in your spirit. Those dreams and passions, that's what's going to keep me alive, and to know I'm making a difference and I have a purpose in this world. That's the passion. I have a purpose. I'm not here to bide time until Jesus comes back. That's my purpose in my spirit. That's my vision. That's my dream. That's my passion. And in your realm of your soul, you worship back to him in your soulish realm by using that unique personality to make a difference in people's lives that you come into contact with. Because you're not going to connect with everybody, so forget that. But you are going to connect with quite a few people. God gave that to you. When you do that, and you transform their lives because you encourage them. You give them a word from God. You give them something they didn't have before. You say, you can do this. Jesus is on your side. He's for you, not against you. And they receive because of your personality. You're transforming their lives, Dave. And you're worshiping God at that very moment. You don't have to go into a prayer closet to worship God. When you do that, you're worshiping him. And when you take your physical talents and your mental, I mean that as well, your thinking capacities, and you come up with something that's bigger, stronger, faster, and better, and you create something, or you hammer that nail, or you answer that phone at your job, what you're doing for work, you're worshiping God at that very moment because you're utilizing what he gave you. Your gifts for his glory. And I'm just thinking, as I wrap up, I'm thinking, as I said this, answering the phone. Miss Tammy, I love you, sister. I've known Tammy for 23 years. 23 years coming up in a couple months. Yeah, I know you're only 30. I've known you since you were 7. Wow. You know what's scary is when you do know people since 7 and now all of a sudden they are 30 and you're going, whoo. I don't know what that says about me, but no, Tammy used to be the church secretary. A couple times. She's 2 or 3 times. 3 times. I couldn't remember if it was 2 or 3. 3 times. In the very first years of me coming to church here, I was a mess. Now, most of you don't know that. You thought I've always been perfect and odor-free. But I was a mess when I first came to church. And you know, I needed encouragement, man. I needed daily. I needed a connection with somebody. You know what I used to do? I used to call the church just so I could have Tammy answer the phone. If you've never had the pleasure of having Tammy answer the phone, give me your number. No, it's amazing. The Spirit of God working through her, using that talent of just being such a lover and an encourager. And all she had to do was say, hello, this is New Life Christian Church, and will outreach. How may I help you? And your day just got better. I'm telling you fact. That's not made up. That's not a joke. I'm not extending this any farther than what's really the truth. I used to call up once in a while going, I need somebody. In the middle of the day, I'll call Tammy. She'll answer the phone. Hi, Tam. It's Don. How you doing? I didn't have a 10-minute conversation with her. So just so you know, when you call the church, don't do that. Okay? It was all of a 15, 20-second thing. Just calling to say hi. And I don't know what she was thinking when I did that, but I used to hang up the phone and I get a smile. And I'm just like, day's better. Why? Because the talents and giftings that God's given her and you and I, spirit, soul, and body, were to use for his glory. And when we do that, every moment we are working, paid, volunteer, every moment we are worshiping God. Every moment. You don't have to go into the prayer closet to worship. That's great. You don't have to go to church to worship. That's great. Every moment of every day, when you're utilizing those gifts, you are worshiping God. Your work is your worship. Your work is your worship. What you do on Tuesday, in the middle of the day, is just as spiritual worship as what you do on Sunday when you come into church on Sunday morning. Same word, avodah, work, worship. Every moment. Want to know why some people are just miserable? Again, because they're not in where they're supposed to be. And they're frustrated because they're not where they're supposed to be. And then the worship part goes along with that. It's like I'm frustrated not only because I don't like this, but it just doesn't feel, something's not feeling right, me and God, and it's like, all these crazy thoughts, and it's like, get in the vein. Get in the vein. Get in that flow. Like them turtles. Dude. You're worshiping God. In summary, work is not a four-letter word. Work is to produce and achieve something, and I add the word great because God doesn't do anything average. Work is a gift. It's not a curse. It's a gift. It's a gift. And I don't mean you're just lucky to have a job. That's not the kind of gift I'm talking about. I'm talking about what God's given you to do with that work. I'm not talking about, it's a gift, I got a job in this economy. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking God said work is a gift, and you're supposed to enjoy the process and what it brings you, financially speaking, back to you. Work allows us to use God's gifts to serve others. That's the point. Work is your worship. And work is your worship. Wow, I did good. I have 58 seconds left. I think that's almost a first. Where's Kathy? Because usually Kathy's back there going, time, you're done, stop. So let me pray for you, all right? Lord, I thank you for everyone here tonight. I thank you for every family represented here. Lord, I thank you that after tonight, hopefully some enlightening things have entered people's minds, Lord, that they view work different than they did before. And it's not just do everything as unto you. It's more than just that. Yes, that's true, Lord, but work is a gift. Work is our worship. Every moment of every day we're utilizing your gifts that you've given us is a moment of worship. Lord, I thank you for those people that are here tonight. I ask blessings upon them for the right jobs. Jobs that pay. Not just volunteer, but jobs that pay, and they pay well. And if there isn't a job that's already in place, somebody's creating one. And if somebody else isn't creating one, people in here themselves are going to create one. They're going to create their own job. Have a plan to do all that. And you'll help guide them. And you're going to guide people to make connections with businesses and companies. Lord, I thank you for that. I thank you for doing that because you love us. That's the real reason you've done it, because you love us. You want us to be fulfilled. You want us to be happy in what we do as we serve you and serve others. Lord, I ask you to bring those jobs, bring the connections, bring the phone calls, bring personal connections, whatever it takes, Lord. You bring them. You bring them together. Because there's people here who are looking to take the passion that they now realize that may have been stirring in them and they haven't known what it is. You're going to reveal it to them. You're going to reveal that passion to them so they know the direction they're supposed to go. They're going to use their personality. They're going to use their tangible talents for your glory, Lord. Your gifts for your glory. Called to be so in the name of Jesus Christ of Nazareth. And everybody said, Amen. Brian, we're good? Okay. What's that? There's free bread? All right. Free bread in the foyer. God bless you. You're dismissed.